Okay, looks like we got a solid amount of people here. We're almost at 45. Um, Thank you everyone for coming on today. As you know, we're going to be going over some exciting information, medical summer programs for you guys in 2021 and some virtual shadowing opportunities. So basically what the structure of this meeting will look like is we've compiled 8 programs and we've have information on them in detail. The officers will be going over them. We'll be posting these links afterwards, but you guys should still take notes now and ask any questions that you have. After we go over the 8 programs, we also have some virtual shadowing opportunities that we'll go over. And finally, we'll end off with a fun Kahoot about cardiology. So yeah, and if you guys have any questions, like feel free to like message the chat or PM me or one of the officers, and we can answer it as well. So yeah, we can get started with the first program.
All right, cool. So before we start, I just want to say that we are talking about 8 programs today, but there are a lot more out there that you guys should all take a look into because we just chose 8 that we felt were important to share with you guys. And secondly, a lot of these programs are pretty hard to get into. So make sure when you do apply to them or take a look at them, you consider multiple programs and not just one. And with that, our first program is the Rosetta Institute. It's a biomedical summer camp. In normal years, it's held at UC Berkeley in San Diego, but last year it was held completely online over Zoom. So there are actually 4 types of programs: cancer, neuroscience, immunology, and aging. So the titles are pretty self-explanatory, but in cancer, you learn how cancer develops, and the professor there, or the PhD holder who teaches you, talks about his research. And at the end, you get to do your own research project into a specific gene and how it's related to cancer. For neuroscience, you understand neurobiology on a molecular level, and you also place an emphasis on some specific neuroscience related diseases. In immunology, you work with the immune system, and such as you learn about T cells, B cells, and every other part of the immune system, and get to design some molecular experiments to work with their effects. And finally, aging, which isn't listed here, you learn about modern research into trying to extend the lifespan. And I did a short lecture. I attended a short lecture with that one. It was pretty interesting. They talked about like how they were able to double the lifespan of C. elegans and other organisms. So that's the main focus of that one. Um, so in normal years, you would learn about molecular biology techniques like Western blot, but if it's online, which it hasn't been determined if it's in person or online, you will learn to use a variety of bioinformatics tools that are available in order to research like genes and specific instances in these categories. So here are the dates. There are multiple weeks for each one at UCB and UCSD. And there's no hard deadline, so you can apply whenever basically, but it's better to apply early so that you have a better chance of getting in. And Rosetta isn't too competitive, so it's definitely doable. And I would recommend keeping it as like an option in addition to other camps to apply to. So next is Cosmos. So this is, a lot of you may have heard of this already because it's pretty widely known, but Cosmos stands for California State Summer School for Mathematics and Science. And basically, it's a 4-week camp that's held at 4 different locations. You can only go to one of these locations, by the way. And then each location has 9 to 11 clusters, which are types of programs. And there's a wide variety of topics. So it can be in biology, engineering, and basically any STEM related topic. And they're usually pretty specific. And you learn about the different ideas related to your cluster, as well as participate in research activities and some field trips and stuff. So Cosmos is pretty competitive to get into. So it's definitely worth it if you do get in. The requirements are 1 personal statement and official high school transcripts, and it can be a little expensive, but if you do get in, it's definitely worth going to.
So yeah, Stanford's cardiothoracic surgical skills internship. It's a 2 week long internship, but please note that it's like a paid internship, like the ones that we've listed so far. But it's not as competitive to get into, so I recommend you guys to apply to it if your kind of options are limited or you're just really interested in cardiothoracic like surgery. And basically, throughout this internship, you're going to be focusing mainly on cardiology, and you'll attend lectures every day on like cardiovascular anatomy and various topics in medicine. Actually, it's not just restricted to cardio, but there's a heavy emphasis on it, of course. Um, in order to apply, you need two recommendation letters, and you need to be 16 by the start of the internship. And some of the things that you do at the internship itself is learn like different surgical techniques, not just suturing, but you also learn like operations such as aortic valve replacements and coronary artery bypass grafts. And you do a lot of this practice on pig hearts. So yeah. And there's two different program sessions that you can apply to. So I guess you should apply to whichever one kind of you have more available time during, because I know a lot of you guys might be juniors and you're going to elite, so you kind of don't want that to overlap with which program section you apply for. So another internship at Stanford is Stanford's Simmer, but unlike the last one, this is like a research experience, and it's also probably the most competitive program that we have on here, just because of the fact that it's a free program and it's offered at Stanford. And in addition to that, I think they place emphasis on like socio-economically like disadvantaged students. So, but I know that they still accept students from mission. It's just not as often as these other internships do, but it's a guided research opportunity. So you'll basically have the mentorship of like professionals in various fields, and you can choose from one of 8 different institutes. And these institutes focus on immunology, stem cell medicine, neurobiology, cardiovascular biology, cancer biology, bioinformatics, bioengineering, genetics, and genomics. So if you're interested in any of those, I highly urge you to apply. But like I said, unlike the previous experience, this one is heavily like research and it's 8 weeks long. But the benefit of it is if you get in, it's free. And in fact, you get money to conduct your research. You get a $500 stipend.
So the next program we're going to be talking about is Scripps. So this is located at the Scripps Translational Research Institute. So they primarily focus on translational research, transcriptional research, the personalized medicine type of things. So this is usually centered in San Diego. The institute is located nearby UCSD. But 2021 is probably virtual. They didn't have much on their website regarding that. So what you do here is you perform specifically translational research. Some of the past projects in this institute include developing an app to kind of provide personalized medicine info, or kind of researching the mutations in the Zika virus. So these are some really interesting kind of computational biology applications. And during the 8 weeks that you're there, you'll participate in many seminars, basically draft an abstract and present to your lab members. So as I said, it's 8 weeks. And this can be from June 7th to July 30th, or from June 21st to August 13th. But like Shreyansh said, make sure that this doesn't overlap, because I think that June 7th is during our school year. So please make sure that you kind of manage your calendar accordingly. The good thing about this program is that it's completely free, and they provide you with community college credit through the California Community College system for your research there. So that's definitely a plus. And the requirements are that you must be 16 and complete your application before the end of March. So there's a link. Then this is another program that's really interesting. It's the Institute of Systems Biology. They regularly host high schoolers and undergraduates to research there over the summer. But I believe last year it was virtual, so this year it's probably planned to be virtual. essentially what you do at the Institute of Systems Biology is it's primarily computational biology based. You basically research systems biology, computational biology, alongside professionals in the field that are working in the Institute of Systems Biology. You create a web page for your research, which you can show as you go forth in your kind of medical research, which is definitely a pro of this program. And you can work with specialists in all these different diverse fields. So this is also free, and the good thing is you receive a stipend. But the application does open in mid-January, so be aware of when it opens and get your application in on time. And you do require a recommendation.
Yeah, for sure. So the next one is in the National Institutes of Health Summer Internship Program. And for 2021, it will be online, but they haven't really emphasized whether this is set. So this could be subject to change. But this one's more for the upperclassmen. So you must be at least 17 when you apply. But it's a really great opportunity to work with the NIH, which is like one of the leading institutes in the country, and you just lead with them and you work in an environment devoted exclusively to biomedical research. So you do get to work at the Marco Hatfield Clinical Research, and there are more than 1,150 laboratories and research programs. So certainly would recommend this if you're trying something different and just don't want to continue down the generic biomedical path. And you do get to know what institutes you're accepted into, so what sort of subject want to get accepted into the internship. So you usually do have to apply first before getting to know or even having the choice to pick one. And this is about 8 weeks in length, and it does depend on the orientation date, but the earliest one is around in May. So it would then run from like May to August or May to July, but then the latest one is like mid-June. So certainly keep in mind, as everyone else has stated, to make sure it doesn't overlap since it is a pretty long internship. And the deadline to apply is February 1st. And it is a free, so it's an internship and you could get paid. I believe on the website they state you could get paid around 1 to 2K, but the price isn't determined. And in order to apply, as you stated, you do have to be 17. You need a resume, a list of like courseworks and grades, a cover letter describing why you want to go in, your interests and career goals, and the name and contact information for 2 references. So don't necessarily need the recommendations, just the contact information. And then the next one is the UCSB Research Mentorship Program. And this one's really great. It's nearby and it is competitive, but it's a 6-week summer program for students who want to participate in research. There are a lot of different options here. So certainly another one I would recommend if you don't want to go specifically down biomedical, but also want to like add in computational or something else. So here students are paired up with a mentor and they're given the chance to pursue a research project. This could be your own, or this could be something you and your mentor come up with together. And another really great point is that you get to attend lecture series called Grit Talks about the innovative research happening at UCSB. So in person, usually we'd also get to like meet the people there and feel the whole campus vibe, but that isn't really happening this year, but it's certainly worth looking into. So this is from July 20th to July 30th. So it's from June 20th to July 30th, and the price is about $4,575. The application fee is $75. So certainly if you want to apply, make sure that you are dedicated, but it's certainly worth going to if you get into. The deadline's March 15th, so start looking over it during winter break. You need a personal statement, transcripts, writing sample from a current academic year. This isn't exclusive to science. You could also submit English, AP scores, and if you don't have any, that isn't a problem, and one recommendation letter.
Thank you, Mahir. So now I'll be going over some virtual shadowing opportunities. We know with COVID and shelter in place, it's very hard to reach out to physicians and gain shadowing experience. So here's a few resources you can use to stay proactive even during quarantine. So first is the HEAL Clinical Education Network. And for this opportunity, it's free and there's no like specific requirements. You can just go attend and it's over Zoom. So every Wednesday at 5 p.m. PS Pacific Southern time, you can go attend, and during this time, participants will be given the opportunity to shadow physicians, and they will like walk you through the symptoms and of their like real patients. and you'll be able to take notes and like shadow physicians during their diagnoses and treatment plans. And since this is a live course, you can like use Zoom features and ask like questions, and it'll be very engaging and very fun. And it'll be like an eye opener, especially if you've never done virtual, especially if you've never like shadowed a physician before. And you can like locate their website with more information at this link, which is tinyurl/virtual shadowing one. And the next opportunity we have compiled for you guys is pre-health shadowing. And this price is also free and it's also over Zoom. But for this one, it really depends on like the doctor that is speaking that day. So the timing will vary, but you can locate all of the timings on their website. And during this session, participants are also given the opportunity to meet like various healthcare professionals, not just physicians, but it could be like nurses, physician assistants, and nurse practitioners. And you get to get an inside look to the education and career path, among other things. And you can check out their website with additional information at prehealthshadowing.com.
Yeah, thanks, Angela. So now we'll be playing a cardiology Kahoot. So I'm just gonna quickly stop my share and then I will begin on the cardiology Kahoot. So go ahead and grab your book. Okay, awesome. So it is on the screen, so go ahead and log in. And just while you're logging in, try to keep something that somewhat resembles your real name. For the people who have already joined, that should be fine. Just keep in mind that for the future ones, just try to keep something that somewhat resembles your name.
Will you join the meeting? I'm going to leave from here.
No, Ma, I can't join again.
Okay. What is it?
That's what you were saying about having this land and everything, no?
Get somewhere there. Give me a minute. I'm doing double things.
Turn off your
I
mic is
think
on.
you're on. Yeah. Okay. So we'll be starting in about a minute. So just quickly join on, and then I will go ahead and get started. awesome. Let's get started then. Yeah, so one person actually does die every 36 to 37 seconds in the United States, and that in a year usually results to 1 in every single 4 deaths. So it is a really widespread problem. Great job, Vocal. Yeah. Yeah, so a majority of the people got it right. It is 60,000 miles in a child circulatory system. However, if you took them all out of a fully grown adult, that does usually result to about 100,000 miles. So overall, it's a really wide and complex system. So really interesting. Great job, TG, I guess. Yeah, so a majority of people got it right. The sinoatrial node, or the SA node, is a specialized myocardial structure that initiates the electrical impulses that pretty much acts as the heart's natural pacemaker. There's also the AVN, or atrioventricular node, which is responsible for transmitting the electrical signals from the atrium to the ventricles. So that's pretty much the gatekeepers, while the SA is the heart's natural pacemaker. And there are scenarios where it does malfunction, and that does usually result in having to implant a false pacemaker. Great job, TKT. Yeah, so I will explain the rest of the answers later on, because there are a few questions, because these 4 are essential parts of the heart. But more specifically, the myocardium are the heart muscles that line, or the middle layers of the heart walls, and they're responsible for the contraction of the heart. So that's pretty much what acts as the cardiac pump. So yeah. Yeah, TKT is still in the lead, with used to coming in as second. Yeah, so it's actually arrhythmia, which is heart rhythm problems. So these occur when the electrical impulses from the SA that coordinate your heart don't actually work properly. So it either beats too fast or too slow. This is also called like a flutter heart, and it isn't necessarily life-threatening, but it's certainly something that needs to be fixed. But the rest of the answers are actually all diseases that do affect the heart. So the first one is the pericarditis, which is inflammation on the lining of the heart, which is the pericardium. And then cardiomyopathy is a disease of heart muscle and where the heart is abnormally enlarged or thickened, or it's even stiffened at the point. And then as a result, the heart's ability to pump blood is weakened. And that one is actually life-threatening. And then the myocardial infarction is just a heart attack. That's just the formal way of saying it. Used to in the lead. Yeah, so this is actually false. The pulmonary artery carries the deoxygenated blood from the right ventricle into the lungs for oxygenation. And it's actually the pulmonary veins that carry the oxygenated blood from the lungs into the left atrium where it's returned to the systematic circulation. So it's the artery that carries the deoxygenated blood and it's the veins that carry the oxygenated blood.
Sorry, if I can step in real quick, Meher. That's correct, and just keep in mind that's like the only exception in the body. So that's the way to remember it. But usually arteries do carry oxygenated blood. It's only within the lungs that happens.
Yeah. Yeah, so a lot of people got this right. So we already touched on myocardium, and the pericardium we touched upon with the disease called pericarditis. So pretty much the rest of them, the endocardium is the tissue that lines the inside of the heart and protects the valves and the chambers. And then the epicardium is the protective layer that consists mostly of the connective tissue and forms the innermost layer of the pericardium. But the overall covering of the heart is the pericardium. So, yeah. Used to still taking the lead, I guess. Yeah, so this is actually true. There is also the systole where the ventricles contract and pump blood out of the heart as the atria relaxes, filling it with blood again. So pretty much these two go hand in hand, the diastole and the systole. Yeah, for sure. So pretty much for the people that don't know what this is, this refers to the buildup of fats, cholesterol, and other substances in and on the outside of your artery walls, which pretty much can restrict the blood flow going through. And the plaque can burst, triggering a blood clot. And even though it's often considered a heart problem, it can also affect other parts of your body. So it's certainly like a big problem. And referring to the rest of them, systolic pressure shows how much pressure the blood creates against the wall during the systole, and then the diastolic pressure is, as we touched upon in the last question, it shows the pressure in the arteries during a diastole. And sarcomeres are the basic unit of muscle tissues, and they're composed primarily of actin and myosin microfibrils. So still in the lead, I guess, but good job for Joshua to making it to the leaderboard. Yeah, so most people got this right. It's actually a hole when in a human feces between the left and right arteria. And this hole allows blood to bypass the fetal lungs, which cannot work until they're exposed to air. And this is supposed to close when you're born, but there are instances when it doesn't. But that doesn't specifically have treatment, so that doesn't usually result in the child living for too long. Wow, okay, still in the lead, I guess. Yeah, so most people got this right. It was in the question itself. But really briefly, what ventricle fibrillation is when it's a heart rhythm problem, and it's when the heart beats with really rapid and erratical, like electrical impulses. So it starts pumping chambers in your heart, and then it starts quivering uselessly. And this does sometimes happen as a result of shock or even just in general. And then usually what defibrillation is when they administer controlled electrical shocks, as you've sometimes seen in those movies where they take them and they put them to the chest, and it allows the heart to restore its normal rhythm. And they usually continue doing this at high voltages, but referring to the rest of them, what the pacing one is, or TAP, is the prompt and precise control of heart rate, and it just improves hemodynamics. So it isn't specifically used when the heart is beating too fast. And then for ultrasonography, it's just a non-invasive test that's used to estimate the blood flow through your blood vessels. And they do this by bouncing high frequency sound waves. And then in venography, it's a procedure in which an x-ray of the veins, a venograph, and then is taken after a special dye is injected into the bone marrow or the vein. So it's usually just to see how your veins are doing. Yeah, so good job to Beta to making it to the leaderboard. Yeah, so while the rest of the programs listed here do also have like cardiology sectors, they don't primarily specialize in cardiology. So all of them don't have like specific sections like specifically to cardiology, but all of the Stanford programs we listed, so SIMR and the Cardiothoracic Surgical Skills and Educational Center summer internship, specialize primarily in cardiology. So when you go there, you spend the entire summer working on like the heart and specific diseases and like just parts of it. So certainly if you're interested in cardiology, I would recommend looking into those programs specifically. Yeah, so great job everyone who made it to the leaderboard, and even those that didn't. If used to wants to tell what their real name is, that would be nice.
You can send it in the chat, whoever it is.
Yeah. If not, that's fine too.
All right, well, thank you guys for coming on today. Before we end the meeting, did anyone have any questions about the programs that we went over, or anything that's going to be happening in the future for Medcorps? Okay, if not, we'll see you guys in the new year for our January meeting. We'll probably be going over how to draft your resume and write your cover letter for these types of programs, and we'll go over cold emailing for another opportunity for you to get research experience in 2021 summer. We'll post a recap on the Facebook group. And as always, if you guys have any questions, oh, yeah, the Facebook group, let me link it. Or yeah, Hirsch, do you mind linking it in the Zoom chat to everyone? Yeah, definitely join our Facebook group if you haven't already. And yeah, we'll see you guys in January. If you have any questions, feel free to message me or the officers. And thank you for coming on today.